Fraud, fake, fraudulent, not real, not authentic, not in any way, shape, or form ever carrying it down for the pound. Man is a professional salesman, so much so he'll take the whole run, throw it in the bag for free. No reason to pay, buy one, get one free, it's just free straight out. These are the allegations that are being faced against Mr. Max, aka the leader of artificial life forms, aka this category still doesn't have any real leader. And to be fair, I did do, probably in my opinion, one of the harder artificial life form stages, which is the Red Zone Gohan stage. Now, when I say harder, it's more like the mission that's used. Granted, if I took this team to Janemba or even Gogeta right now, I'd get absolutely flamed and destroyed. But when I made this video on September 5th, 2024, yes, a whole month ago, this was probably the hardest mission you could do with artificial life forms because it's a mission, and boy, does your boy Gohan cook. Now, I did this about a month ago, and not much has happened to artificial life forms. It still is a very inconsistent category. It doesn't really have a true leader. It doesn't really have great synergy. The only thing that's really holding this thing together is the Majin Boos, and honestly, that is even on life support because you want to talk about frauds. There's someone in here who, he's not really a fraud because he's not tricking anyone. He just is ass. And that is the SDR transforming Boo. If you can get him, if you can get him to transform into Buhan, he actually can carry and actually do decent. But when bro is just base, Super Boo, oh boy is he cheeks. And unfortunately, all his other forms are not great. The Bukalo is arguably okay, but not as good as Buhan. So I always rotate him off and try to get enough HP where I'm not basically down the creek without a paddle. Now, back to your boy Max, aka the fraud of all frauds. Now, I think the reason why he is coming off as very fraudulent to a lot of players, myself included, is because the way JP players sold him to Global. They're talking about, oh my god, Max's defense is 10 billion jillion. Oh my god, Max is the unit you need for Super Bosses. He is the guy. And honestly, if Max dropped during Super Bosses and had like 2 or 3 months to live, I'd be agreeing with you. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? When it comes to Super Bosses, he's pretty much the guy. That's the only extreme SDR character. There is no other option. Thus, then you use him. But ever since Tech LR Broly dropped, he has been absolutely replaced by SDR Turles. Now, this may just be a, additional system issue because my Max is at 55% because my dumbass coined him. Yes, I coined him. And my Turles is at 79% because as you play the game, you accrue these characters, and I ended up getting him. Now, Turles and Max are somewhat similar, but in my opinion, Turles has a lot more going for him because on the Movie Bosses team, what Turles needs for damage reduction is to have other planetary destruction characters on the team. Thankfully, a billion Brolys are on the team, and all those Brolys are on planetary destruction, except for maybe Super Broly. And when it comes to the Max passive, I'm gonna be honest with you, that shit is an entire constitution. That is an entire bibliography section. I ain't reading all that. 1, because I don't want to. 2, I play Dokkan. I don't know how to read. So when it comes to Max, he actually needs to have Super Bosses on the team. And if they're not on the team, it ends up being, no, not even on the team, the turn. If they're not on the turn, he ends up not getting his full DR, which is trash, by the way. Anything that is turn-based, where you need something on that turn, is going to force you to have certain rotations. And Max is not strong enough to have certain rotations. Like, Max is really an oxymoronic unit, because the whole point of Max is that he's supposed to take it for the team. You get him to take enough hits, build up his defense, and eventually, when he gets his passive, you choose when it's appropriate to basically become unkillable, and from there, you basically are going to do a bit of damage and take all the hits for your team. Now, the problem with this is 2 things. First of all, Max does not have the perfect guard throughout the entire match. He actually has it for the first 3 turns, and then perfect guard goes bye-bye. Now, once perfect guard goes bye-bye, Bro ends up being a slot 2 and an arguably slot 3 unit because he just cannot take shots to the head. Like, Bro is not Thanos. He ain't gonna sit there taking an axe to the body, never mind the head. He essentially becomes a unit that you just want to float off. Now, in my opinion, if you have to float off a unit, it's bad raps. That's a red flag right there. The fact that I'm not proud to stand 10 toes down and have Max slot 1 is telling me that bro ain't lifting what he's supposed to be lifting. Now, here's the thing. Granted, you gotta say that Cell Max is a decent unit. Bro does multiple supers at 55%. Bro tanks at 55%. He is better than most other units, and on super bosses, arguably. Movie bosses, he's fraudulent as hell. On super bosses, it's a different story because there's not as many people I could think that replace Cell Max, especially in that STR slot for rainbow missions. But with that being said, I don't know how people say he's top 5 LR. Like, I understand broken block. I understand he's got a good passive and a good active skill that basically saves the entire turn, and if there's STR orbs, he can heal. But I don't really see how he's that OP. I mean, if you're going to be talking about someone who is a role player, such as LR5 Broly, bro heals, you know what I mean? If your HP is low enough, the entire field becomes 5, so you don't really need to worry about that. And in general, when it comes to team synergy, the only thing that's really keeping artificial life forms together as a category is the boos. And Cell Max, like, who does Cell link well with? Other cells. Like, Bro doesn't really link that well with the Brolys. Bro is pretty much out of place. Granted, he does show up in Super Battle Road because he has an AoE and lowers attack, but who cares about Super Battle Road at this point? At this point in time, I want to see Bro exist in Red Zone. Obviously, certain Red Zone events make everyone look like a fraud, such as Janemba, as well as the new Gogeta event, but that's not the case for Cell Max. Cell Max will get caught out and killed with a super, which, in my opinion, is pretty much the same case with Turles, except with Turles, you will have scenarios where Bro survives. Like, I've had moments where Turles took 700k super, but Bro barely survived. But with Cell Max, because he's at 55%, he just gets absolutely positively decimated and obliterated. And I think it's because of the fact that he loses that guard after turn 3. And although you're supposed to build up hits in order to get to the point where you're basically able to take the hits and able to sustain, his defense isn't that crazy. Like, Bro's defense in DR is not that insane. If he gets supered by, let's just say, Red Zone AGL Broly, it's nights out. There's no universe where Bro's surviving that. There's no universe where Bro's just eating that. And it becomes a scenario where if you don't know where the supers are and you just start floating him and get in super slot 3, the run is done. Like, the run is absolutely done. Like, for this Artificial Life Forms mission, I don't know if I'm just missing key players for the team. Again, the category doesn't really have a real leader, so it's kind of like a Team category. But for this team, the two people who were throwing the most, and to be fair, it's because I was relying on Cell Max. I was trying to get more out of him. Cell Max was throwing a lot, because I would put, like, right here, I had put Bro slot 1, because I don't trust Bro. I ain't really got a lot of hopes and dreams when it comes to Cell Max. I ain't doing all that. I ain't just sitting there and putting Bro there, because Bro does not have a chance to dodge. Obviously, I'm not going to build him to dodge. He's at 55%. And I just don't trust Bro. I just do not trust Bro. He is not the person you put in slot 1 unless it is a Phi attacker. And even then, when it comes to Beast Gohan, you are getting bodied to the point that I'd rather just put this Tech Boo, who honestly is... His EZA is monstrous, bro. Absolutely generational EZA. But when it comes to Cell Max, I think the problem is that he's built to be a slot 1 character. You want to get the hits. You want to get that build up. But Bro ain't really a slot 1 character. Does this sound familiar to you? Does this oxymoronic build sound familiar to you? That's right. It's the same issue that the LR frauds, Goku and Vegeta. I'm not talking about the AGL Super Saiyan God Goku and Vegeta. They ain't even fraudulent. They ain't even perpetrating anything. They literally are just trash. But the cooler movie AGL Goku and Vegeta, the Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta, are a great example of a unit that needs to get hit 7 times. Bro, 7 times. I used to get beat as a kid. I've never even been hit 7 times. 7 times, right? 7 times. And then you can transform and get a little bit of DR. Bro, you know how mad I would have to make my dad to get hit 7 times? I only got hit maybe twice, and after that I learned my lesson. Why is it that AGL Goku and Vegeta need to get hit 7 times, and after the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, that's when they finally learned their lesson and they transform? That's trash, that's garbage, that's nasty. But now is not the time to say how fraudulent that unit is. They are fraudulent. Now is the time to look at Cellmax. And I think the reason why a lot of people have the feeling that I have is that bro was overhyped. People were blowing him up. People were meat riding him. People were doing tricks on it. A lot of JP players was meat riding it. They were on their mountain bikes just going up Mount Olympus of Cellmax's schlong and literally and unironically going balls to the wall saying he's a must-have unit when he's really not. He's an okay unit. He's not bad. For super bossies, he's like a good STR unit. He definitely has his place. As you can see right here, bro is basically saving this rotation because had I not popped that active, this super right here would have done a gazillion damage to the STR Boo, which is okay. It's basically like a Ghost Usher for the turn, but at the same time, wouldn't it have been great? And you know, this is gonna sound crazy, but like maybe when you do that, bro dodges instead of just eats it, because no matter what in the future, that defense will eventually fail, and he will need an easy A. It's crazy to say that, but eventually it will. And if it was a dodge, I wouldn't have gotten sealed, or I wouldn't have gotten stunned right there. But he does save the turn. He is like an item. He does help the team, much like Beast Gohan. So he is good in that regard, but at the same time, you got to take into consideration that he ain't all that. People are saying he's one of the top 5 LRs. First of all, you're going to have to take it to a completely different category. You're going to have to say, is he the top 5 extreme LR? Yeah, that's arguable. You could say that. Bro is a trash leader. Bro is a role player. He ain't exactly OP to the point that you're literally like, oh my god, the Phi trio that literally carries the entire team throughout. He ain't on that level of carrying, but when it comes to Beast Gohan, I'd say he's a Teemu version of Beast Gohan. Beast Gohan does a better job in terms of giving everyone else ki, does a better job in terms of tanking hits. It's the only thing that's separating him and Gohan is that Cellmax has an AoE and he lowers attack and defense, but that's not very common in most events, so it ends up becoming a who cares stat. I personally like Cellmax, but at the same time, when it comes to movie bosses, Turles is going to replace him 9 times out of 10. When it comes to events like Super Battle Road where you can lower attack and defense, it's like a no-brainer. When it comes to certain things like World Tournament, are you going to use it for World Tournament? Not really, probably not. So the question becomes, where does Cellmax fit in? Where does Bro exist? He doesn't run his own category. He doesn't have any real support. He's supposed to have a bunch of super bosses around him to have his full passive, which is fine and all, but it's like, damn, like, I don't know what it is. I think what the problem is the way that I run Cellmax is that I run him the same way I run Beast Gohan, where he's him. Bro's taking it. We don't need STR Piccolo there for the support. We can bring him if we want to boost him, but we don't need him there. I think the Cellmax, if you're going to run a Cellmax team, which obviously why would you? He's not a full leader. I think Cellmax needs that support. Cellmax needs the Phi super easy A kid, but he needs that defensive boost. He also may need STR, or not STR, Phi Super Easy A, Goku Black for that defensive 30% boost. Like, he's one of those guys where he needs a crew to help him out, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, I feel like Cellmax as a unit isn't that guy. Like, I don't want to bring units on a team to help Cellmax. I just want Cellmax to go out there like Beast Gohan, stand on 10 toes, do everything by himself, not really need much of anything. And that's just not the case. It doesn't end up working out. It's one of those things where you get to this point in time with Cellmax where you basically see Bro show up and he's supposed to be a slot 1 unit and doesn't put in the work. He's supposed to be a unit for the team, but after his active, he can't do much of anything. And it ends up becoming a fraudulent activity. But that's just how I feel. Maybe I'm a little slow. Maybe other people have a dream team with Cellmax and he think that he's absolutely amazing. But for me, if I had to put him in a fraud category, Bro would be at the top of the list because I coined him. I was actually drinking the Kool-Aid. Never mind drinking the Kool-Aid. I froze the Kool-Aid. I used the Kool-Aid as ice cubes. I ate a Kool-Aid sandwich. I had a Kool-Aid for dessert. I had a 3-course Kool-Aid meal where I was believing the Cellmax hype to the point that I'm now disappointed and I'm actually questioning myself and wondering, how is this possible? How could this happen? And as you can see, I did this event so many times that I did not ever do it without a item. It was just ridiculous. Like, doing this event, I ended up using, I think, 1 or 2 Icaruses, which is okay. It's not necessarily the end of the world to use an item, but it kind of goes to show that, like, this team in general, like artificial life forms, is very weird. It has a lot of people who, you know, if you're going to put, for example, Metal Cooler on this team, he definitely ain't going to survive, and he definitely ain't going to be doing as well. But it's one of those things where, you know, you have all these units like Metal Cooler, who's supposed to take a lot of hits as well. You have Cell Max, where he's supposed to take a lot of hits. You also have, technically, the Tech Boo, that if he takes one hit, the defense procs for the turn. It's like a weird combination of characters that are a bunch of selfish sickos, so they're not really helping each other. So maybe I'm being... You know what, right now? Cell Max might be LeBron James on the Cavaliers. I might be expecting too much. Like, I'm thinking Cell Max is Jordan, but Cell Max really LeBron. That might be the perfect comparison. I'm sorry to say it, but it seems like wanting Cell Max to be the leader, wanting Cell Max to put in all this work, it ends up being the case that it just ain't happening. It's just not possible. And it's just one of those things where you think it'll end up working, you think he'll take the responsibility, the accountability, and be able to run it through, but it just is not the case, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be that in this scenario. But I will say, this run ended up getting saved right here because for some reason, I don't know why, this Beast Gohan did not Super Slot 1. We were able to eat it with the terrible, terrible placement there, and we were able to win. We were able to get the Artificial Life Forms mission, which was hard as hell. I'm not going to lie to you, I have no idea what the optimal, like, team for this looks like. I'd be surprised if you do this without luck. I mean, even I had a little bit of luck, and I used an item for this. So I honestly would be surprised to see someone do this unless they have, like, a completely stacked and roided team. But when it comes to Cell Max, I regret coining him. I regret going so hard for him. I am literally brain dead, and I don't know why I did that. I'm not even that big of a fan of Cell Max. He's not really like Beast Gohan, where he's like a moment in time where it's like, oh my god, it's ridiculous. He's alright. He's a decent character from the anime as well as a decent unit. But it really makes you think, why isn't Bro better? Why is it that the JP glazing did not lead to anything other than simply a glaze fest? So, although he is pretty fraudulent, and I'd put him up there with AGL, Goku, and Vegeta from the Cooler movie, Bro got us the win, Bro got us the mission, and there's not much more to say other than we beat the event.